Sports is what we do.
You're in your car, you're in your house, you're wherever you are. You're a sports fan.
97.3 ESPN.
Because if you weren't a sports fan, you wouldn't be listening.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, hanging out with you on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We got a lot of football to talk about this hour. We also will get into the Sixers because they are back in action. You know, the Sixers have won 13 of their last 16 games. So we'll get to that. Also, we will be joined a little bit later in the show, about less than 20 minutes from now. Kalyn Kahler, she is the senior NFL writer with The Athletic. We're going to get into the NFL postseason with her coming up on the show. And as always, you could join the conversation at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. A couple football things I want to get to for the Sixers, though, because, you know, the news came out, I mean, I want to say it was like 10 minutes ago when Lamar tweeted, but Lamar Jackson went to Twitter. And I think this was probably one of those deals where somebody he personally knows this basically said to him, hey, you need to speak for yourself. Because if you go through Lamar's timeline, you find out that basically almost all of his tweets have been having to do with prayer, his birthday, retweeting what somebody else said about his injury, and then his tweet about his injury. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically the summary is that there's still information surrounding the knee and inside of his knee, and that it remains unstable. And the problem with guys like Lamar Jackson is things like this are going to be used against him. I know that we live in a world that the quarterback position in the NFL is perceived in a way that is very archaic. People love to say, well, there's never been a non-pocket passer to win a Super Bowl, which, first of all, is inaccurate, okay? Because if you're saying that, then you never watched Steve Young play. Second of all, the era of the Tom Brady type quarterback is going extinct. And so you look at the postseason and you realize that all of these quarterbacks can run. And you could argue that some of them run more than they should. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, they all run around. Tua has sustained both of his injuries, two of the three injuries in the pocket this season. Lamar Jackson sustained his injury. Justin Fields sustained his injury both times in the pocket, not running. Now, I'm not saying that they would have ran, they would have completely avoided injury. But what I'm saying is that Lamar Jackson is going to be the test case for how seriously we take guys when it comes to injury risk versus talent and potential. I've told you guys here on 97.3 ESPN multiple times that I think that the Ravens and the Packers both basically gave their quarterbacks the middle finger and said, we're going to give you lousy rosters and see how you do with them. I think both organizations have done a massive disservice to their players. And I understand that they've drafted players, both organizations have, but at some point, you got to surround the player with talent. And the funny thing about the quarterback position going into the postseason is that when you look at the 14 teams in the playoffs, you realize that outside of one or two teams, almost every one of those teams are among the most talented in the league. The teams that have the most talent in this league all just happen to be in the postseason. Look, the Ravens' offense is basically horrible, but their defense is really good. They really made some serious upgrades to that defense, and that's why they gave Roquan Smith that massive contract extension, because this is a Ravens defense that if you take out the last game against Cincinnati, when both teams started benching players and resting them, the last several games for the Ravens defense, 16 points, 9 points, 13 points, 14 points, 9 points. It's pretty good. So the Ravens defense is good. Their offense is just a mess. The only other team in the playoffs that has questionable talent on their roster is probably the Giants. And a large part of that is because it feels like their entire wide receiver core is injured. Otherwise, every team in the postseason is talented. They have a great amount of talent up and down the roster. And I think that the problem is that because we, as a sports fandom, has become so obsessed with the quarterback position that we can't see straight anymore, that we can't look at these situations and take the quarterback out of it. You guys know me. I've told you guys for years now here on the radio, whether you're listening on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, whether you're driving your car, listening on the radio, wherever you're catching the show, thank you for listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Game Night with Josh Hennig each and every day. You find, for me, that I believe that team building matters. The reason why we're picking the 49ers to beat Seattle is not about the quarterback, it's about the team. The reason why we're picking Jacksonville to beat the Chargers is not because of the quarterback, it's because of the team. And you can't tell me that you're picking, if you are, the Vikings or the Giants because of the quarterback. Because if you are, that's silly. It's actually borderline hilarious. And in the Tampa-Dallas game, the quarterback is less important than the rest of the team in those games. So at the end of the day, do teams win championships or quarterbacks win championships? And that gets me back to Lamar Jackson. This guy has not played in a month. A month. So why were we expecting him to be ready this week? I think we were hopeful he'd be ready this week, but it's looking more and more that he won't be. Jalen Hurts spoke to the media today, and he was asked about dealing with his injury. And I thought his answer, which is a bit of a repeat of what we've heard him say in the past, I thought was very interesting. This is Jalen Hurts earlier today speaking to the media in the locker room.
It's not the first time I've done it, though. It's happened a number of times. I think this has been a very public venture, but I've been able to navigate that, and I have no problem with doing that. That's a thing that I have to kind of get my mind right to do. You know, it takes what it takes. At the end of the day, if you want something done, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
I'm not saying that any quarterback worth his salt is not going to be out there and play if he can. And I'm not saying this to be negative against Lamar Jackson or Tua Tagovailoa or anyone else. But it feels like more and more that Hurts was built and born to be Philly tough. Because this guy is saying, oh, I've been injured before. Nobody cared, but this is being played out public now, and that's fine. The other quarterbacks who are coming into the postseason banged up are not playing this weekend. That being Lamar Jackson, who has not been ruled out, but is looking more and more like he will not play this weekend. Tua Tagovailoa was already ruled out from his game. And we know San Francisco's been playing with Brock Purdy for about a month now since Jimmy G went down with his season-ending injury. It's looking like Jalen Hurts is the only banged-up quarterback who's going to be available to play. What do we read into that? Just a thought here for your Thursday here on 97.3 ESPN. In less than 10 minutes, we will talk with Kalyn Kahler about the NFL playoffs and more from The Athletic. She's one of their senior NFL writers. She will join us coming up in less than 10 minutes here on 97.3 ESPN. On the text board at 609-403-0973, Jeff in Ocean City asked me a question yesterday that I didn't get to, and I want to touch on it a little bit today. And that is, Sixers are back in action tonight. Listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Tom McGinnis on the call. Jeff in Ocean City asked a question yesterday. He basically said that, can the Sixers get past the second round? And it's the question that everyone has been asking. And my immediate response to that question is to say, if healthy, yes. Because I think that the Sixers have a good enough roster. I don't think they are a bad team by any sense of the imagination. I don't think winning 13 of their last 16 games is a coincidence, especially since they've been winning since they started getting guys back from injuries. Right now, they are right in the thick of the heart of the standings. The Nets, the Bucks, the 76ers, and the Cavs are all separated from each other by no more than 2 wins, basically. 2-3 wins, that's it. They're all right in the same grouping. I personally think that there's only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, from what I have seen, that are far and away the best in the East. That's the Bucks and the Celtics. I think everyone else is similar. Ultimately, I think the postseason is going to come down to the old concept that styles make fights. I think there are certain teams in the Eastern Conference that will make things more difficult for Philadelphia than others. I think the Sixers can beat the Nets in a 7-game series only because of the fact that I really just haven't seen Durant and Kyrie do great things without superstars of a different name next to them. Durant only won with Steph Curry next to him, and Kyrie only won with LeBron James next to him. So until I see them elevate themselves with each other, then I'll believe it when I see it. I think that a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers has a ton of talent, but I just have questions about their bench depth long term. I think them and the Sixers both have questions about their benches, and they'll probably both address those questions around the deadline. I think the Bucks are like the Sixers, though. I think the Bucks, if they are healthy, they are a great team. If they are not healthy, they have problems. And so for me, on January 12th, 2023, I look at the 76ers and I see a team that can be a deep playoff run team. Will they be? I think it comes down to health. And I think it comes down to the matchup. Because I think a team like the Celtics right now is going to give Philadelphia a ton of problems. I think the Bucks, if fully healthy, can give the Sixers, beat them in 6-7 games, basically. I think the Cavs and the Sixers have strengths and weaknesses that eliminate each other. But I think ultimately that's probably a 7-game series. And again, I think the Nets and the Sixers probably win that in 6-7 games. Again, if I'm going off of the information I have right now, things can change at the deadline. Because I think the rest of the Eastern Conference is really nothing. The Miami Heat are extremely disappointing. The Atlanta Hawks are underplaying a massive roster turnover that they had. And the Knicks and the Pacers are kind of shoulder shrugs. And the Bulls, well, they still can't stay healthy. Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock. But coming up next, we'll talk NFL with Kalyn Kahler from The Athletic. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN and 97.3 ESPN mobile app.
Tonight
on ESPN Radio.
Doncic just inside a half court to the top of the arc. Steps left. Three for the win. Bang! Luka Doncic just won it for the Mavericks.
It's a Western Conference showdown in Los Angeles when Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks face the LA Lakers.
Three from the left is all net for Russell Westbrook.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins after Sixers basketball.
The Mega Millions jackpot has grown to $1.35 billion. That's the second largest jackpot in Mega Millions history. Take a chance today because anything can happen in Jersey. Kindle Auto Plaza has the area's largest selection of pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models. With over 80 pre-owned vehicles on their huge 100-acre lot. Everything from sporty coupes to SUVs to trucks. Kindle offers the area's best buying experience, easy and hassle-free, with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. Discover why Kindle customers are so loyal. Shop for your next pre-owned vehicle at Kindle Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or at KindleAutoplaza.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
No one ever asked insurance companies for jingles or mascots, but NJM listened when people asked for savings and better service. Upgrade and you could save an average of $702 a year on auto insurance. With a company known for 5-star service, that's 5 stars more than any jingle or mascot. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Get a quote at njm.com. Figure reflects average annual auto insurance premium savings on a national basis for applicants who reported their prior premiums and switched to NJM between 5/31/21 and 5/31/22.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent. But then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
University studies have shown that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a semester of college Spanish. If you want to learn a new language, there's no better way than Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try Babbel for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Can't go to the game? Be at the center of the action at Chickies and Pete's, your favorite local sports bar, and enjoy our exclusive in-game experience. The sound surrounds you. The energy takes over. You feel like you're at the game, but you're only at Chickies and Pete's. Even better, no concession lines. Go to Chickies and Pete's on game day for our one-of-a-kind in-game experience. You're in the game at Chickies and Pete's.
Check out Chickies and Pete's all-new happy hour. Every weekday starting at 4:30 p.m. Enjoy select craft beers, seltzers, and wines for $5, plus feature cocktails for $7. And our special happy hour food menu. We call it the Bar Board, with world-famous crab fries, tasty pretzel nuggets, and get ready, fried cheese and pepperoni with crispy bacon and Dijon cheese sauce. Chickies and Pete's all-new happy hour every weekday starting at 4:30 p.m. Chickies and Pete's.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about that sound? You're listening to a set of GE appliances, complete with all you need to keep food fresh, dishes clean, and everything else stress-free. Making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Get up to 25% off select GE appliances right now. Offer valid January 5th through January 25th, 2023. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be
Matt Blatt Kia.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins Technicians got you covered for new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, whatever you need. Jenkins has got you covered at 609-641-6262 online at jenkinsandsons.com. Let's get back to the NFL conversation right now. As promised, joining us from The Athletic, she is a senior NFL writer for them. Also, she is the host of the ongoing series QB2. She is Kalyn Kahler, and she is joining us right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Kalyn, welcome in. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well, Josh. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you jumping on. We probably should start with the Lamar Jackson tweet that just came out.
I saw that. Yeah, I
mean, talk about coming out of nowhere. The guy barely has tweeted in the last few weeks, and all of a sudden he decides that on January 12th is the day he's going to talk to social media about his knee.
Yeah. Have you read it out loud yet, or should we read it?
I read it a little earlier. Yeah.
You read it. Okay. So
Yeah.
he's just kind of giving an update on his PCL grade 2 sprain on the borderline. He wants us to know it's on the borderline of a strain 3.
Right.
I'm not a trainer. I don't really know the difference between 2 or 3. But it is interesting that he tweets this right now. And I think we all know why he's tweeting it right now, because there's a ton of speculation that he has been the one holding himself out of this game coming up. And he's been the one, because of his contract situation, he has been the one who has decided not to play. So I think, this tweet is very transparent. This is him telling us, no, you guys, I am still hurt. I'm actually hurt. And here's what I have. So, what do we make of this? I don't really know. I mean, it's interesting that he felt the need to go on Twitter to clarify it and to tell us more about it. But yeah, I mean, the timing is interesting, but I think he's literally just saying this so that all of us will stop the speculation.
What does it say to you that the NFL is entering the playoffs with not one, but 2 marquee young quarterbacks, both looking like they're not going to play this weekend in Tua and Lamar?
Yeah, well, the Tua situation is a whole other beast on its own. Right. I think it's for the best, obviously, that he is not going to play for, 2 different injuries. Obviously, one is serious nature, concussions. You don't want to play around with that. That's for sure. So I think it's 2 different situations, but it is kind of a bummer. If Lamar isn't going to play as well. I mean, it is a bummer that we're going into what should be an exciting weekend of games with, games that might be a little bit less exciting. I mean, the Miami Buffalo one is certainly a dud without Tua. I mean, there's really no other way around that. I'm sorry, apologies to Skylar Thompson. Great guy. Who knows? Maybe he's got it in him, but I mean, without Tua, that game loses a lot of interest there. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just a big bummer all around to be heading into this weekend without them, because they are 2 very exciting players.
I think the biggest thing that's disappointing to me as well about not having those 2 quarterbacks out there is because, you basically have, barring a couple nitpicks here and there, you have, for the most part, the teams with the best rosters in these playoffs. Like almost every team has loaded talent on both sides of the ball. So to me, it's like you're getting all this talent out there and you having those 2 more guys would add a whole new level. And people are still going to watch. I'm still going to watch. I mean, you're going to watch because you cover it for The Athletic. But it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like that the average fan who's tuning in to see the best players in the world, as you mentioned, no offense to Skylar Thompson, no offense to
Tyler Huntley.
It's like, it just feels like a letdown.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Tyler Huntley is a pretty good backup. I mean, I have really liked what I've seen of him. And actually, I was talking with PJ Walker. You mentioned earlier, I have a podcast called QB2 where I actually spend time talking to these backups. And it feels like every week this season, there's been a new one playing. So PJ Walker, I asked him, hey, who's a backup who we should keep our eye on in the NFL? Like, who is someone that has impressed you? And he singled out Ty Huntley. So I do think Ty Huntley, as far as backups go, is a pretty talented guy. So, I think if we're looking at these matchups, the Ravens have a better shot than I would give the Dolphins on Sunday if they're both playing with their backup quarterbacks. So, that's interesting, but it is a bummer because, we had this happen with Lamar last season as well. Missing the last few games of the regular season with injury, and anytime he's not out there, it is just less exciting.
The thing that conflicts me about the Baltimore-Cincinnati matchup is the fact that even though Baltimore's defense has played really well for about a month plus now, this is still Joe Burrow. This is still the Bengals. This is still a team that's got a ton of talent. And I got to think that the Bengals got to have a chip on their shoulder after what Zach Taylor said about, they felt like they were kind of given a raw deal by the NFL and all this.
Yeah, I mean, that situation was never going to be fair, but it is sort of insane that the owners got together to vote, during the season, a week before the playoffs begin, to alter the way that the playoffs are held and the way they're structured. I mean, that's such a rare occurrence. So I totally think the Bengals were 100%, within their right to be annoyed by that. And I do think you're right. I think they will have, an extra motivation going into this of like, I think teams like to say like, we it's only us. Like, I don't know what they'll turn it into, but they'll turn it into something about like, we're the only ones looking out for us, essentially, and I think Zach Taylor actually said that to the media. He was like, about his owner, Katie Blackwell, what she said, the memo she sent to other teams asking them to vote against the playoff scenarios. Zach Taylor said, we are the only ones looking out for us here. So I think they will kind of flip that and make that a motto.
Oh, that's the reality series I need. I don't need too many more Hard Knocks. I need inside the NFL owner meetings.
Yeah.
So we can get some 100%. Of that Jerry Jones versus Robert Kraft shouting matches,
Yeah, that is where the good drama is for sure.
Talking with Kalyn Kahler here, senior NFL writer for The Athletic here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Before we get too much deeper into the rest of the games, I did want to ask you about the Eagles, because even though they're on the bye week, I'm not saying, but I'm saying that Hurts is the only injured quarterback right now who we know for sure is going to play in the playoffs. And he said today in the media that, hey, I've been injured before, but nobody knew about it. So to me, I'm just, having to maneuver this differently. And it feels like that. I said before you came on, I mean, this guy was born to play in a city like Philadelphia. I mean, he's hard-nosed. Mm-hmm. He just does his job. He just feels like he was built for this moment.
100%. He, I mean, Sirianni said he was in a lot of pain on Sunday and he was struggling a lot in Sunday's game. And I don't know that, we could necessarily tell that from Sunday's game. So, I think that is, a huge credit to him and something you can tell with his personality. I mean, didn't he say last week too, like, I'm not going to smile until it's done?
Right.
And he said it with like the straightest face ever. And I actually haven't been to a press conference of his in person, but I have watched video, and I mean, he looks like he has never smiled before in his life. He seems like a very, very serious guy. So I do think, what you said about him being perfect for Philly is 100% true. Like, he has that work-like mentality. And I think, them winning that game and getting the number one seed was huge because they will get to rest. I think I saw some people kind of like opining, last week, like, oh, the Eagles didn't look that good. Like, and now they're not going to get to play next week. They're going to lose all the momentum. I don't buy into that. I don't think that's going to be at play here because I think this team really needed an extra week to get everybody healthy. And then there were some key injured players who did come back last week. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Robert Quinn. But even an extra week there is really going to give them that boost that they need to, face whoever their matchup ends up being in the divisional round.
Also, CJ played every snap of that game, which, I mean, the guy literally hasn't played for a month with a lacerated kidney. And it's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to play every snap of a football game. Like,
yeah,
I mean, that
sounds like the most painful injury ever. A lacerate. Right. That's like Andrew Luck shit, Yeah,
it's like, we had the same thing happen to Zach Ertz. a few years ago in Philly, and he came back after I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, and people were like, "How are you coming back?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I got extra stuff layered under me," and people were just like shaking their head at him, like, "How is this even possible?"
Right. Yeah, that's wild. I would not volunteer for that one.
Right. I at least would hope not. I
Yeah,
at
no
least would
thanks.
hope not. Aside from the matchup of great hair in the game on Saturday night, what are your thoughts on the Jags versus the Chargers? Because, this is a game where they played earlier this year in Los Angeles, and I felt like the first time the Jags were the Jags that we got to know now. And, Doug Peterson, obviously, he's a well-known guy in this area with the team. I think he should be coach of the year. Obviously, no bias here. But, what is your perspective on that matchup? Because to me, I personally think, to disagree with Jason McCourty of Good Morning Football, I think that's the most fascinating matchup of all these NFL playoff games.
That one is going to be a good game because I think we all were dying to see the Chargers in the playoff last year, and it didn't happen. They just narrowly missed on the playoffs last season, and I remember I was super disappointed about that. Like, I feel the same way about the Chargers last year as I do about the Lions this year. A team that you feel like they earned it, you feel like they deserve it, and they just miss out. So I am excited to see what the Chargers can do in the postseason this year, but I'm a little bit less excited about them because a lot of their coaching decisions this year have just not been as thrilling. I mean, they Brandon Staley last year had a reputation for going for it on fourth down, and it was working for him a lot. And he's kind of reversed on that in some interesting decisions this year where you would think he was going to go for it and then he doesn't. And so his style has seemed to change a little bit. And then obviously some of the decisions where players are getting injured have been questionable. But I do think the Jaguars, this matchup is going to be really fun because the Jaguars are peaking now at the right time. I was there back in, I think it was week 5 or 6, and they had lost like 3 games in a row. It was after they started off good, and they lost like every single game in the month of October, and they were in a bad place then. But even when I was there then, the players, it didn't feel like anyone had given up. They were very much talking like, we know what we have. We know we have talent here. We just have something's just got to change. Like, we're so close. And so I am really excited to see Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs and see, what these Jaguars can do because they have just been playing, really well for this back half of this season. And I'm hoping the Chargers don't disappoint me, but I'm getting ready for that. I'm bracing myself.
Who has better hair, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert?
Justin Herbert for sure, because Trevor's, I don't know, he doesn't have a lot of volume. I wish he had a little bit more. It's pretty flat, and
that's true. Yes.
Justin has a little bit of curl going on at the bottoms, at least, and it's not quite as long, so it doesn't look as stringy and greasy. So I'm definitely, I will give it to Justin Herbert. I will give the hair award to Herbert.
Interesting. Because I made the comparison earlier this week that, Trevor Lawrence reminds me, Ronnie Bass Sunshine, for Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah,
Herbert's hair reminds me of Snake Plissken from the Kurt Russell character from Escape New York and Escape Los Angeles. So it's like completely
I don't
two
even
different.
know that reference. I don't even know that second reference.
Google it. The movie's not that good. It's more one of those, if you're a movie dork like me, you watch a lot of movies for better or worse. So
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know it. I'll have to add that to my list.
Just look it up, the trailer on YouTube, and you'll get what you need to know. Trust me. It's not. It's you're better off with Tombstone than you are with any of the Escape movies with Kurt Russell. I got to also ask you about the Vikings. Yeah. What is the more valuable, description of them? Is it the fact that they're at 11-0 in one-score games, or is it the -3 point differential?
I would say the 11-0 in one-score games. I know they get a lot of hate, and everyone questions, are they any good? What's going on here? But I do think, I think Kevin O'Connell should be a candidate for Coach of the Year because, there is an element of luck in the NFL to every season. But, if you looked at last season, those Vikings were at the opposite end of luck in every situation. And so you have like a philosophical debate with yourself. Well, how much is it luck and how much is it just a little bit better coaching? And I think it comes down to the coaching. I mean, I think Kevin O'Connell is, as I said, should be a coach of the year candidate. He's done a great job there. And, they are, what are they, 12? And what record did they end up with? Even better than that. I could look it up.
13-4 overall.
12-4, right?
13-4.
Yeah, 13-4. Okay. That's incredible. That's such an improvement from last season. So, I do think the 11-0 in one-score games is probably a better stat. Because I think we can expect more of that in the playoffs from them. Because the Giants are a little bit similar in that way too. They've been in a lot of close games this year as well. And their last matchup, I believe, at the Vikings was decided by the field goal, right? At the end there. So this should be a good game. I'm excited to see what happens in that game.
By the way, for the useless information category, the team with the worst point differential to win a playoff game was Tim Tebow's Broncos in 2011. They had a minus 81 point differential. So,
yikes.
Yeah, but so I think the Vikings are okay.
They're fine. They're doing
the Vikings
great,
are fine. They're minus 3. Do you buy? Yeah, exactly. Do you buy into the idea that the loser of the Cowboys Tampa game on Monday night, their head coach is getting fired?
Interesting. I do believe that could be Mike McCarthy's fate. Only because it seems like, we started the season with Jerry Jones, like talking about him as if he wasn't secure in his job. And that would be two, depending on how the game goes, it would be like 2 dramatic exits from the playoffs for the Cowboys in 2 consecutive years under McCarthy. So I could see that happening for him. Todd Bowles is interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, that team certainly underperformed all season. Although I don't know, I don't see that. Have they ever had a one and done? Have they had a one and done coach recently in Tampa? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I feel like they would give him another year. I don't know that they would be impatient with Todd Bowles there, but I do think McCarthy certainly could go that way.
It's just such a weird thing because, like, I've talked to, for example, the AP NFL writer Rob Mott. I have him on my show once a week, and he's down in Tampa, and he's always talked about the fact that it's just a weird vibe in the building down there. So I mean, it's an interesting conversation to me because I just don't see how we're gonna go through an NFL offseason with nobody else being like. I feel like this has got to be the fewest head coach openings in a while, right?
Monday was very boring and disappointing. And I feel like, the problem was with this season is all of the splashy fires happened like during the season. So Nate Hackett, I mean, we kind of saw that coming. That was during the season. Frank Reich was during the season. That was shocking. Who else? Matt Rule. We knew that was coming, but that was also very early. I mean, that was like week 5 that happened. So I think it felt like no one got fired because a lot of people had already been fired. So, some of the firings got out of the way before, Black Monday actually arrived. But I agree. I think there could be one more opening. And I would think about it this way too, is like LA, Sean McVay, he should retire. And I don't say that because he's a bad coach. I say that because he's clearly tormented, and he's talked about his personal torment of coaching football. But he can't seem to pull the trigger and actually step away from the game. And I don't think he would permanently. I think if he leaves the Rams this season, I don't think it's permanent. I think it's just a couple years, take a break, go on a beach. Like, he's earned it. I do understand it's very hard to quit while you're still on top. But I think everything he said publicly and what people are saying about him just makes it seem like he should do that.
By the way, I want to give you credit. I just went through Pro Football Reference. The Bucs had never had a one and done coach. Every coach has gotten at least 2 seasons. We're talking about Lovie Smith, Greg Schiano, both only had 2 seasons. I mean, you got to go back to, I mean, I didn't even know this guy coached the team, but Richard Williams got a year and a half as the head coach.
When was that?
We're talking about 91 and 90.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I didn't feel like they were quick to make changes there for some reason. And yeah, so I mean, that would lead me to believe that Bulls would probably get another year. Unless there's things going on there behind the scenes that we just don't know about yet. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I wanted to give you credit because you kind of threw it out there, and I was kind of curious myself. So
yeah, that's good. I wasn't going to look it up, so I'm glad that you did.
Well, considering half my life has also been as a producer, aside from just being an on-air host, this is kind of like the instinctive move is to look things up. So
right, totally.
Kalyn Kahler, she's the senior NFL writer with The Athletic. You follow her on Twitter at Kalyn Kahler. Your parents must really like the letter K. I'm sure there's some vitamin K in there.
Apparently they do. I will say, next week I have a story coming out next Tuesday about the Eagles and how they've pushed Jalen Hurts this year in different formations. A lot of it is about the quarterback sneak and how they are running quarterback sneaks at an absolutely unprecedented rate. There's been 32 of them this year by the Eagles, which has never been done before in this century. The closest is 21 sneaks. So, I mean, this is wild stuff. And you might think the quarterback sneak is boring, but I promise you, after you read my extremely long story, breaking it down for you, and all the different slightly maybe illegal, but also above board tactics that the Eagles are using, you will love it. You will love the play. You will be so proud of your team. So go to The Athletic on Tuesday to check that out.
Well, I am a subscriber to The Athletic, so I'll make you a deal. I'll read the whole article, and then I'll have you back on.
Yeah, okay, great. Yes, perfect. I'll come back this time next week. We can talk about sneaks. It'll be awesome.
Sounds like a plan. Kalyn, great stuff today. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See, I don't know what it says about me, but every time I hear quarterback sneak, all I still think about is Matt Lyon in the Bush push with USC. I know Tom Brady's got like a ridiculous amount of like QB sneaks in his career, but for some reason, all I think about when you talk about quarterbacks, the first thing I think about is Matt Lyon at USC, but I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. All right, we'll get back to your guys' thoughts and comments on the other side. Jeff in Ocean City and more. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You can also DM the show to the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CL. Don't forget Sixers basketball tonight at 7 p.m. versus the OKC Thunder.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Wild dash along the baseline. Reverse layup is good. Maxey back in splendid fashion.
The Sixers host the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
May old car problems be forgot in a brand new SUV.
Stop! You can't start the new year in an old car. Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Platt Nissan's Holiday Vehicle Buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Platt Nissan Rogue.
It's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
Drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Platt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattPlattNissan.com. Meet qualifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Nissan Rogues. Not all will qualify. Go to MattPlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. It's on at Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
That doesn't sound good.
Paper shredder's jammed, but I think I fixed it.
Oh, well, try shredding these $50 bills then.
Seems like it's working.
Better try another $400.
Stop. Instead of using money, use regular paper. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
There's nothing better than the comforts of home, except maybe the comforts of a natural gas home. You'll love the reliable heat, plentiful hot water, and precise cooking temperatures that natural gas can offer. Not to mention the efficiency, reliability, and savings only natural gas can deliver. Make the switch to natural gas today and bring home even more comfort. Learn more at southjerseygas.com/lovemyhome or call us at 1-218-217-0864.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
The Riverview at Sweetwater Marina and River Deck is located on the historic Mullica River. With its versatile event space, all maintained by experienced, attentive staff, this venue presents an exceptional setting for a celebration to remember. Warm and intimate, Sweetwater specializes in weddings, sweet 16s, corporate events, bridal showers, and more. Sweetwater Marina and River Deck will be nothing short of amazing. Visit sweetwaterriverdeck.com for more information.
What you've heard about probiotics is probably wrong.
I eat yogurt, so I don't need to take a probiotic. Probiotics? They don't really work.
It's time to learn the truth about probiotics and join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up. Align has probiotics to naturally help relieve occasional bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Try Align probiotics for a month and see how great a healthy gut can feel. Get $2 off your first month of Align at alignprobiotics.com.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Corvette.
It's back! By popular demand, Bennett Chevrolet has brought back GM supplier employee pricing for everyone. That's right. Get to Bennett now. Pick out your new Chevy, and you'll pay what our supplier employees pay, and not one penny more. This is truly amazing because other dealers are still charging MSRP or more. But Bennett isn't like most dealers. We've got GM supplier employee pricing for everyone on your new Chevy. Think about how much you'll save with Bennett when you pay GM supplier employee pricing compared to the other dealers charging MSRP and above. Plus, with rates as low as 2.99%, you'll save even more. And we're still paying record prices for trades towards any pre-owned in stock. Right now, get a minimum $7,000, even if your trade is total junk. Yes, at least $7,000. Imagine how much we'll pay for a trade that actually runs. And wait till you deal with our non-commissioned sales team. They're paid based on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Don't forget Sixers basketball coming up at the top of the hour. Time to get us the call. Sixers versus the Thunder here on 97.3 ESPN. You know, one of the things that's interesting about what Kalyn was saying, to go back to one of the points she made about the Eagles, was the fact that she said the article is right about how the Sixers have really pushed Jalen and elevated him. And I thought that was a very interesting perspective, because what you're saying is that, again, back to, and she obviously didn't hear anything what we said before we came on. She just jumped on the show at that moment in time. But if you remember, about 30, actually more like 40 minutes ago, I was telling you guys that the team matters more than the quarterback. So if the team can put Jalen in a position to grow and be great, and if the team turned Josh Allen from a questionable prospect to a potential perennial MVP candidate, if the team was able to clean up Patrick Mahomes' mechanics, have him learn for a year on the bench, and then become the new great quarterback of this generation, if the team is responsible for these things, then why are we so hyper-focused on the quarterback? Unless it's just we're always going to do what we're told, right? Let's get back to the text board. 609-403-0973 is text board. Danny HT says, the Eagles' success this year is all about limiting errors like turnovers and penalties. If the Eagles can stay relatively error-free, there is no one better in the NFL. Listen, I don't think it's something that we should not talk about when it comes to, Ryan Clark said earlier this year, he felt the only way the Eagles get beaten is they beat themselves. All right. And it was true. 2 of their 3 losses, one to the Cowboys, one to the Washington Commanders, were both when they had 4 turnovers in the game. So, yes, when this team doesn't make mistakes, they are practically unbeatable. In many ways, I feel like the Saints game was an anomaly because I think that they so overthought the room that that's what put them in a position to fail. So, yes, there is something to be said for the fact that the Eagles, when they don't make mistakes, it seems like no one can beat them. I think that is a fair point. I wouldn't guarantee that because if you play a team like San Francisco, you can still lose and not have a bunch of penalties and turnovers because a game like that might be so close. Maybe one penalty or one wrong move or one wrong decision could lose you the game in that situation. Jeff in Ocean City said, I think the Sixers must avoid the Boston Celtics in the finals. In the playoffs, give me the Bucks in the semis, and maybe the Nets can beat Boston in that scenario. I know it's a way too early conversation, but it's a big question with the Sixers, how they can get out of the second round. See, I'm conflicted on the Bucks because I think the Bucks are incredibly long and athletic, and they can grind you to wins. I think one of the things that happened last night, if you got to watch the Bucks-Hawks game, was you saw a game where Giannis did not have a good scoring game at all. I think he had, 7 points last night? If I remember correctly, I got to double check it real quick. But that Bucks win, they grinded out that win for the most part. I know a 114-105 victory is not, you wouldn't think is a grind out game, but Giannis had 7 points, 10 assists, and 18 rebounds in that game. The leading scorers in the game were Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday. So what does that tell you? That tells you the Bucks don't need Giannis to be the primary scorer to be successful. And so the Bucks do concern me, though. I don't know if I want the Bucks. I'd rather have the Nets than the Bucks in a playoff series, just because of the fact that I think the Nets' biggest flaw is still, at this point, their depth. I think the Nets can be exposed. If you get Durant or Kyrie in the foul trouble and you make Ben Simmons do more than the team wants him to do within the structure of the system that they're running right now successfully with Jacque Vaughn, I think you could beat the Nets 4 times in 7 games for sure. Sixers basketball coming up next year on 97.3 ESPN FM. I'm Josh Hennig at Josh Hennig on Twitter. Thanks again to Kalyn Kahler from the Athletic senior NFL writer for joining us. I guess we're having her on again next week. She decided to book herself on the show for next week. It's like what Sal Pal does with Mike Gill. By the way, Sal Pal and Taylor tomorrow with Mike Gill at 3 p.m. on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Tomorrow on Compass Media Network's coverage of Big Ten basketball, Tom Izzo's Spartans visit Illinois. Hi, I'm Andre Bonte. Join Mike Wozniak and me for all the action as Joey Hauser and the Spartans measure up against Terrence Shannon Jr. in the Fighting Illini. Michigan State, Illinois from Champaign. If it's college basketball, it's right here.
The college basketball season continues only on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 9 p.m.